Our demonstrator on August 2, 2025, will be Martin McNamara. As a member of the Midlands Chapter, Martin will showcase his talents by crafting a three-sided box. Enjoy the demonstration.
Right, now I need two more points that are equidistant around. Right, the way I do it, I go to the opposite corner and I scribe. Now you've got 2 points.
But the compass is set at what?
The diameter or the radius of the circle. Don't move it. If you want to be precise, you could start here, do one, then do the other. There are 3 divides on each side. It's the thing about the maths. So don't change the compass, leave it at 15, scribe the other side. Now, could you make that circle smaller or bigger? Yes, you could. If you make it really small, you're back to the center and you've got a circle. If you move it farther out, you're going to have a more straighter curve. The one thing you have to be careful of is if they're too close together, when you put in your drive, it's going to be out over the edge. You do not want that. All right? Are we okay with that? I'll do the piece of wood now just to show you. What I was saying to John, I'll do a little small drawing of it and I'll send it on to John. He can put it in your thing. Like that way is a very, very simple way of doing it. Right. So, we have our piece of wood. Drawing the lines, does that come up properly? Is it okay? Yeah? Forward a bit. There.
Back in the back.
You're going to fall in the hole with the drum. Yeah. Right. So, what I need to do is I set my compass. Yeah. I set my compass at 15. Always go to the 100 on the thing. Right. Doesn't have to, the key thing is you hang on to that. So I'm going to draw a circle. Right? I'm also going to draw one on the other side. Right? Okay. We pick that point as our point 1. Now have a brad off. Useful to locate things. Make a little mark there. This is the only complicated bit of this, right? So that's our point 1. Make a little 1 there. So what I want now is points 2 and 3. 2 and 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3. That's it, right? So I'm just going to mark that. I'm going to mark that. Okay. While our compass is still set to the same diameter, now go back and check. 1 is there, so therefore 1 needs to be there. Get me? Because these things have to line up. If they're not, you'll get a twisted box even though you hadn't planned. Right? So 1, and I go to the other one, the opposite side, and just scribe it. And now I have my other 2 points. Yeah. Okay. So what we need now is we need that outer circle. Now I just draw it in, don't have to, but we can draw it in. And I go to 25 because I'm going to make it 50. Could go bigger. There's an advantage for me here is that my truck suits 50. So as well as using this spigot as for marking and working to, I'm going to use it later on to hold the box when I'm hollowing it out. So go back in here. And it's just to give me a guide when I'm hollowing. You don't have to draw this. That's all right. Check that in. All right. So, if you want to check to make sure your box is going to fit on the thing, which is kind of important based on that circle, we pick one of those points. And we're going to touch that circle there. John, can you see that? Okay. All I'm doing is, if we are now turning, that's what it looked like when we've turned it. Because it's spinning on that side, and you can go around the points. Don't have to draw this. This is just to check to make sure that it works. All right. Okay. So all that's essential there really is the circle, your 3 points, and the 50 millimeters to give you something to work with. Right. I'll make these a little bit bigger. Now, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take that spigot down to 50. Right. What I use for making boxes is, I have a match set of these. I'll show you. You haven't got a knockout bar, have you?
Use it black.
Go the other side. Thank you. You can use any kind of drive centre, but for this, ring centre is best to get a bit of pressure on to work. So what I have, can you see those? A live centre and a drive centre, and they're both round, and they match, so you can turn it around. Now, the question you're going to ask is, if that's round, how's it going to drive it? It'll drive it. And the advantage of it for something like this is, if you get a dig in, you don't rip the side of the box, it just stops spinning. So it works. And if we get to doing the twisted one, the rings are really good because your box is like at an angle like that, your piece of wood, and the ring is able to hold it. If you have just a pointy one, it don't work. Right, so the first thing we need to do is get those 2 spigots. It would be nice to have light, but I was taught it don't work well with the camera, so we'll try it without the light. Right. So what I want to do is put, as I say again, if you have a question, shout. Because the time to answer is now, not when you're home trying to do this, you know. How I came across the 3-sided boxes, I went down to Limerick, the national seminar a few years ago, and there was an American woman there, Cindy Drozda. I don't know if there was anybody down there. And she made 3-sided boxes. And usually when you go to something like that and you go home, what's the worst thing you're going to do? Is going to try and make one. So if you see the boxes went around there, 2019 or most of them, except the 2 I did lately, that was when I was at the demo. So I came home and made a load of them. And then I did a demo down in Naas on it. Right, so you could round this, but you don't need to, right? Because we'll be taking off the sides of it. So now, how does this work? So what I want is a spigot on the end. Well, it serves 2 purposes. Going to be able to hold it later on when I want to hollow it out. But also, it's a mount. So I'll make it a little bit bigger than usual. Let's going to check that. Just make sure it's roughly 50. Well, it's really just to make sure it's the same at the other side. So it's 50.5. Interesting thing with this is if you want to make a taper box, Do you notice now we're at the bottom and still three-sided? You can do that by making one spigot smaller than the other. So, I'll show you a little one I made. There's a little box. It's still three-sided, but it's tapered. So, to get the taper even all the way around, you just make a smaller spigot on one side than the other. Send that around here. There's an interesting thing though with it. If you taper it, when you take, you part them off here to do it, this is going to be much bigger than this, but not going to match. But then you can do something like that. You can change the design of the lid to match it, and make a feature of it. So absolutely. So, and it's interesting the fact. Now, it doesn't have to be a box. For that turning 40 thing, I did a four-sided tapered one, and it was a vase. You don't have to be a box. Like, you can make this much bigger. So you could actually make a vase that was three-sided, four-sided, five-sided. Key thing is the diameter of that. So I'm going to work to that. So now at the other side, I need to do the same. Okay, that's a piece of beech. It's not the best. Sycamore is probably easier to turn. I've done them in walnut. There's one of the ones that's in the round is sapelli. Actually, there's a sapelli one. That's a weird back there. That one has just put a piece of ash into the lid. And just another thing you could do that makes it interesting, you know, and that's just a piece of sapelli. So you can decide when you get to the end of it what you want to do. Anyway, I better go get this done. Right. Let's speed up a minute. So even though it's round, it's enough friction there to the end of the turn. Let's check this now. .51, so I just take another wee bit off it. Then go right to the line. Right. Why didn't I round it off now? Because it's three-sided, and one of the sides could be going up into the corner. You go rounding it off, you could lose the corner of it. Okay, if you round it off, then you'd mark it out to make sure that doesn't happen anyway. Okay, now, what we need to do now is pick out. So I go to the first one. This is grand because they're fairly obvious when they're lined up. It's when you do a twisted one, that's when it gets tricky. Right. Now, so what we're going to do is going to turn that to get that side done. Right. What do I use for it? I find the best is spindle ruffle gouge for this. I've tried the bowl gouge, I've tried the other one. This works best, in my opinion. So we'll turn it down a bit, and I'll try and get up to about 800. The light might vibrate a little bit. Right, 780. So, you don't look at the chisel, you look up at the top. A little bit at a time. The key thing is trying to get it flat. When you're doing this, have a little heel and there's no problem, you stand it off. But if you go hollow, that's murder, because you have to stand up everywhere else. So, see there, when it got stuck in, it didn't just stop the lid. Small plus at best. Can you see the top there, John? You can't see the secret behind the top. And you have a bit off, you're going to get a lot of speed a little bit more. And you don't move your hands, you move your body. Something took me a long time to work out, nobody ever said it. Just because what happens after a while, when you're turning for a while, you just automatically do it. You move back and forth. Yeah. Not too bad at the moment, when you get down near it. Take another bit more than I would normally to try to get this done, because it's not me. Anybody got a question on it, or me? Okay, so far. Have a look. All right, so you've about 2 or 3 millimeters both sides. Okay, just put that over there. The good thing about the ring centres are, it doesn't let you take a big cut, so less likely to do damage. I see somebody else on what they did with the spigot to make it easier to see the down. They painted the edge of it with a marker, blacked it, so that you could see when you got down to it, you see a white spot appearing. But just take your time. You can see now at the edges, I can see now it's down to about 2 millimeters. I'm trying to keep it level. A little bit more on this side. Check it out how it's going to go. Have a look. Right. Jesus, just touching. Right, can you see that? You can just barely touching. Right. These sanding blocks, I got these in Lidl. And the brilliant thing about them, you know the ArtNet sandpaper, they fit perfectly to it. And they're only a couple of euros in Lidl. Now the paper they give you with them are Lidl or 80 grit. So now is the time to give that a sand. I'm not going to sand much. Just to, so that's 120. Sand with the grain, right? Somebody might ask, can I not put the sandpaper up to when it's spinning around? What you end up doing is, you know the sharp corners for each thing, you just round them over. I've tried it every way. I've tried it on the drill, etc. So that's 180, and that's there. So I'm not going to do more with it. If it was for myself, I'd be 240, 320, and I'd be perfect with it. But you know the idea. Okay, so that's one side. So now, and that's fairly quick, like. It's fairly quick. So you can see there was no advantage in rounding it before we started. Right, so I just go to the next one. Okay. Right. The key thing is just to keep adjusting that rest. Less vibration as she gets near the end because there's less bits off on it. Right. So. I can't find go back and forth, just to speed things up. Some people just go from one side to the other. Interesting I found from when I came to wood turning. I'm right-handed, right? But I find I turn better left-handed. It's steadier for some reason. And the wood turner said to me, you know, it's turning like this and real stiff. He said, why don't you try the other hand? And if you look at the way that a lady said, oh, I think it works better for left-handed. So it's good to be able to do from both sides, but left-handed, you less, you see, you're less movement on it, and it just seems to work better for me. So something to work right. The time you're turning both to be able to switch around. So I'm just looking at the top of that, trying to keep it level. And by the time you get down, you should be kind of a practice movement. I was watching a fellow turning one day, you know, he was trying to really deliberately keep his legs on it, he was turning a big bowl, but he didn't start far enough to that side, so he was like this trying to go over. So, much practice as well, they get you. You should check every so often because you're looking at all those lines spinning and you could get confused. So again, we've got about 3 minutes. So. Do it again now. I'll check. Just trying to get there. See. It's very easy to take too much off. Okay, leave one much alone. So, just give it a little rub with sandpaper. If you don't want to do too much sanding because you lose the shape, but it's harder to sand it afterwards. So as I say, you don't have one of those block of wood with sandpaper wrapped around a flat piece of wood. Just as good. Alright, last one. This is a tree. Oh. Okay.
Would you use them for all boxes?
For which?
Would you use the ring side for any box turner?
Any boxes. Yeah. And lots of other things. Anything small I'm turning, I use them.
You use the ring, yeah?
Yeah, I use them all the time. Because they're small, they'll drive it, and they're grand. But even if I was doing a big piece of wood for a bowl, I'd have a normal centre here, but I'd still have a ring centre at this end. I have a bigger one. Because it just holds the thing, you don't have to lorry it into it. The only time I use that really is when I'm parting off or trying to clean off the end. I use that one. I just find the ring centre good. I don't know, what do other people, do other people use ring centres?
I have them already.
Yeah, you used them as well.
I have them, there's still a lamp I probably use it for, but never thought of using it for boxes and that sort of thing.
Like, it'll hold it very steady, she won't move. Like, I know step centres, I have a couple of step centres, but I do find with step centres, it eats into the wood. It drills into the wood. So that's why they don't drill into the wood. Now the only thing is, you haven't, now do you know what a guy I seen online what he did with them? He actually got a file and cut little indents all around. So it's still a ring, but now it's steady. But to be honest with you, if you're turning something like that and it works with this, why would you do anything else? Well worth a try, I would say. For small things, it holds it well and it doesn't burst around the end. There's nothing worse than if the centre moves, your piece then is messed up, you know. Right, let's go to the last side. I'm trying to get the wood off the time. I would advise take smaller piece off. I'm trying to get it done. See, it just held there, it didn't dig on. Now it can be frustrating if you have a big piece and it keeps getting stuck for a minute. You really just put a bit more pressure on, and it works. And like they're accents, but they're not the dearest one, they're sort of the sorry one, the steerer. The other good thing about because they're matched, you turn a piece of wood around, it fits the same at the other end. Like the only messy bit with three-sided box is working out the three centres. After that it's very basic, he says. And he's just trying to keep the three sides even. So let's check. What's good too if they meet, right? I've turned one, we don't. Oh, great, thank you very much. Where, because I wasn't going deep enough, say I was using bigger than 50mm, 55, and when I had to turn two to turn, it didn't meet. All you have to do is stick her back between centres, make it a little bit 50 a little bit smaller, and remount it, you can do them again. So, you know, because that could happen. They don't meet one another. Anyway, a bit more to take out. The only thing I would say with boxes, you need a bit of killing right wood for doing boxes. And that can be dear, but again, small pieces. Like, for a fibre there, you get a piece, like you get 3 boxes out, you know. Like that's always an enjoyment. You know, you get out there with a piece of wood. You can say like it's dear, that piece would cost 3. And I was going to think up in the capture one night, or now wood turner, he said, look what you paid for that. That was €3. Why didn't you get out in the field or whatever? I said, like, you get 3 hours enjoyment for €3. You know, there's not much you get nowadays that would give you 3 hours enjoyment. So, I know, I've seen a guy online, he turns, and he rough turns boxes. and then he'll drill them out a little bit, and then puts them away, and the two pieces. But messy for small pieces, but if you have a piece of wood, Joe Colin has cheap pieces of wood there for boxes down the back there. He might give you a discount. You can't hear me now, but... No, I think it's pretty enjoyable for small pieces. You don't need a big lathe either, it's another thing. Not everybody has a huge big lathe. There's another technique you can use for making these multi-sided, and it's something I was going to do here, but John was telling me somebody else had done. The turning pouring, you see, get turning, right one turning here. You can use that to do multi-sided boxes, and you can do 4 at a time. So if you want to get into production, but this is, as I say, there's a lot of flexibility in what you can do. The only thing you have to be careful of is when you start off and you forget about what you're doing when you look. Okay, nearly there. It says near as makes no difference. So for the purpose of this. So again, piece of 120, let's take the ridges out of it. And my weight looks well at the end, John. Right. There's still a few little ridges, but as I said, you don't want to see me standing. Right. Done. Now, we have a 3-sided. Sorry. That there, you see, yeah? Right. So we have our tree in our centre. Right. So what we're going to do now is divide it and hollow it out. So you could divide it between centres, but I stick one end of it in the chuck. And so chuck. Right. Whichever end doesn't matter. Probably the best looking end for the. I'm going to put the lid over that end. If your chuck is smaller than 50 millimeters, you would have a 40 millimeter chuck. At this stage, just put it back between centres, make the spigot smaller. So I just did it 50 because it suits mine. Now, just bring this up. And to make sure. Right. How high to have the lid? There is a formula out there. Some Greek guy came up with it for the proportions of the lid to make it look well. Right, but I think about there, because I'm going to dome that and a bit at the bottom. Right. If you had a bandsaw, you could cut this off now. The only fear about parting it off is it could mess up the corners. Right? So, have a small cartridge to somehow in the box. Yeah. If you take the corners off, you just change the lid design. So what I'm going to do is go in here, not all the way, saw the last bit, right? So okay. The reason I want to use a narrow one is to try and keep the grain kind of matching. If you have too wide a one, you're going to lose that. Making a little bit of leeway. Now, when I have a little bit of leeway, if you rotate it back and forth, that'll give you some clearance. Right. I'm not going to do it all the way through because it will fly off on me and it'll damage the corner. So. Right. Tell you why I mounted this in a second, right? I always do my lids first before the bottom. Some people don't the other way around. I always fix the lids first. But when I put that back in, I want to make sure it's lined up. So I'll just clean the end of it. So I'll have a centre now for relocating it later. So as I say, I do this in first, the lid. The reason I do that is, not so much this box, but generally with boxes, you fit the lid on, you can use the lid in as a jam chuck to hold it, and you can shape it to match it. So it'll make sense in a minute, hopefully. So, as I say, you could hollow this out now and do that. And that would be okay. But then you need 2 jam chucks. So by doing it this way, I only need 1. Right. Does that kind of make sense? Does it? Right. Okay, so just going to clean this up and go in a certain amount on it. How's the time going? 11 o'clock. 5 minutes. Right. We'll see how it goes. What should I do with that? So we'll use the spindle gouge anyway to start with. I just used the wing of the spindle gouge to take out some of this. Should decide how big we want to make this. Okay. Say about there. All right. So, come up against that. All right. To clean the edge of that, there's loads of ways of doing it. Skew chisel works kind of well. I'd love to turn on the light, but can I turn it on? Yeah, it's hard to see what I'm doing. It's kind of a crucial piece. But for the lid, we need it to be flat. Right, we need this to be flat to meet the thing. So one way of checking it is with the flat of the ruler. Now can you see that? If we had the light, does that, okay, can you see that now? You can? Because if you notice, like at this end is farther out and as you go in, so if you tilt it in the slightest bit, then she's not going to be flat. So that's reasonable. For a demo, it's fine, right? So that's a good way of checking when it's not regular. If it was round, no problem, you just put the edge up, but when it's not, it's there. Okay, so what I need to do now is hollow that out. I'm going to use this to do it, so I want a rough idea of how deep I'm going to go. Okay. Now, we need a square corner on that. Could use the skew chisel to do it. I'll pass this around in a while, but as I say, I need it for the moment. But I got it's basically a scraper and a ground and negative rake on it. It's not my idea, I think it was Jason Breach does it. So there's a hollow along here and then a scrape it under. And you have a straight corner in it. How do you know if it's parallel? Again, a way of doing that again, it's hard to turn without light. If you put in the calipers into it, you can't see that, I suppose, no? Can you? You can? Well, if it's straight, there'll be no space in the calipers. See the jaws of the calipers, if she's touching in along, it's a good way of checking that it's in horizontal in along. So, because if it's tapered, you know, when you put down the lid, it'll just spring back up. So, so that's one way of doing it, which I use. I just want to take a little bit out of that, just on the corner. Apologies for the light, but I have to be able to see what I do. Right. Now. Right. And we're almost there, but just to the bottom. Yeah. Right. Again, I have a negative rake on that. I'll pass this around in a minute. Okay. We're nearly tea time now anyway, aren't we? You could sand that now, and if you're going to finish it, you need to do it now, because you won't have it on the lid. I'll just the idea of making the break. I think that one around here. So I just ground it back at an angle, and then undercut it like a normal scraper. Now the advantage to that is, normally with the scraper you have to put her in like that, below 90, right, or below horizontal. But because the edge is going down, you can send that in horizontal, and she still won't dig in. And I use these for the side of a box. I show them from the side of it. So I have two of them, and that one is rounded at the ends. So just the idea that it's simply just grinding another edge on it, and it allows you then to use it horizontal, and that's the thing. So I say you'd sand that now, and then finish it. I tend to, with the boxes, I use sand and sealer, and then either wax it or you know, the acrylic lacquer, you know, the spray on it. It's acrylic. I use what you call it, matte finish, so sheen. So do you want the tea break then? Yeah. Right. We're going to finish this off and I'll do a little bit of I'm not doing a lot of sanding on this because I want to show you the twisted, a lot of people are interested in the twisted box. So what you will do is you sand this really well now and finish it. And I say what I normally do is I'd spray it with sanding sealer, acrylic sanding sealer, maybe wax it in or give it the acrylic also lacquer. It's kind of it's a sheen finish. I don't like high gloss. I'll give you a sheen finish. Either way you can do that. So to move on, so we take it, leave the top down. Right? So I want to do the bottom. I want to line that up. I mentioned earlier on I put a mark on the end of it so that I would be able to line it up and come back. Right. And then tighten it up. Okay. Now, what I do is just smoothen off the end of it and then cut I suppose a spigot on the end of it to match this, all right, and then I'll hollow it out. Now, was a question somebody asked me earlier on about during the break, making a box, everything fitting perfect, and come back the following day and it's either too tight or too loose. So, one suggestion is hollow it out. Don't put the finished spigot on it until the following day, and it gives it a chance to move. So that's one way of overcoming that, because it's happened to me as well. And it's messy. Now if you leave the spigot on this side, you can re-change that if you have to, if it's too tight or too loose, but it's an idea. So I'm going to take a little bit of the hollow out of it, then I don't have to clean up as much, right? So, a couple of ways you can do it, there's loads of ways. I can drill it out, and that works well. You could use a scraper. What I tend to use a lot is the spindle gouge, and drill it with the spindle gouge, because it's quite short. So we'll do a bit of that. So I'm going to start. Now I want to clean up the face of it. Okay, what is that? Why did we use the thing? You could use what you call the spindle gouge. Here's an interesting thing I came across. It's actually a bowl gouge, but the sharp bowl gouge. And what I have ground is, I've ground what's called a 40-40 grinder. Americans are big into this. I don't know, does anybody, Michael, do you use 40-40 grind at all? It's the idea of, you have to do it freehand. So she's 40 sloping this way and 40 that way. But it gives a really, really good finish. perfect finish on it, and it's less likely to dig back up on it. Anyway, you could do it with your bowl gouge. I say some of the Americans, a guy called Stuart Batty, he's big into this. He grinds all these bowl gouges 40-40. It works really good in ingrain. Could just as easily do this. But I said I'd show you that. Alright, what we need to do is we need to do a spigot to match the other thing. So, chisel? Too many chisels altogether. There we go. So I want to do a little spigot on the end of this to match that. Now, so when you're talking, it's hard to remember. Right. So, if I work out that thickness of that, another little, I suppose, a trick we come across. So it's 43 and a bit. Set that. Now, you put the calipers onto the end. Do not let the 2 points touch. Just the point on the left. And move the thing, just barely touch first, and move it till the right hand point lines up with that. And then you should have. So, it says we'll see how that goes. Okay. So, we'll go down here. It'll give us something to work to. Then have to do with a bit of light, so. I find this the messiest part of the demonstration, because if something takes ages and you're trying to speed it up, because if you're too much off, you're finished. So, it'll take a lot. A bit more. Up to that line. But the idea here is to slope it. Just slope it back to a point, and then nearly. Do it a little bit. It can come in a bit. Not too bad. If you only do a small bit, and then if you take too much off, you can just come into the bed a little bit longer. See, all you want to take off the hair is red. But kind of, if you remember, you're taking off both sides, so really all you want to take off is the half the hair is red, so she's messy. Right. A bit more. See, I like this to be a tight fit because I want to take off the end. Just tight there. Yeah. Nearly there. Because it's too tight. This is the bit where you take off too much because you're trying to rough it. A little bit tighter. work with that. Which is the right. So the grain is running that way. So that's still very tight. I feel if I get it on there, it might come off. Needs a little bit. Just going to clean up the edge of that because it's not neat and perfect. So I'm using the skew here just to take the shaving off. Right. So we want to finish that end of it. So it's a bit of wood to come off first. So having the tail top up is good. And when we get the last bit off. Now what you could do as well, and I have done that, is to make sure it won't come off. Not when the tail top is on, we're going to take away the tail top to finish the end of it. Right. Stop it going down. If you enter with the thing vertical like that, and then you move in, you can turn it. It's kind of much cleaner finish. So, I want to take that off then. Now, what you can do at this stage, to allow you to get in a little bit closer, take out this guy, and put in your 20 drive. So I want to take off as much as I can with the center support. Here's the thing too, when you have a little nib like that, if you go straight in, chances are you're going to leave a hole. So what I try to do is come back a little bit and have it, if she's going to break off, to break off there, not at the corner. So
get off most of it. And get a bit of sandpaper. Better if I had that bad thing. This bit's 240. So I'm just going to do it. Now, it's not bad. Now you can leave it tight like that. You can take off another shaver now to make it looser, so if you wanted a loose fit on it, we leave it tight. So I'm going to follow this out. I won't take off the bottom, because at some stage I want to try and make it better at home, you know. So we'll take off, we'll follow it out. So, I was saying there, we could use lots of ways to do it. We could drill it out, and we could use the spindle gouge. So if you set the rest just till it's up on halfway, keep it higher. And the wing of it then, right, what I should do for the marker, okay. Decide how deep you're going to go. So I say about there. I'll put a marker on this. So, just double check. Yeah, it goes there, won't come out through the bottom. There's not much to come out through the bottom. Especially if you're going to demo, it doesn't look good. If you stay in that, that's probably what will happen. So if you just press that in, come back in with the wing of it, and take off our stuff. Different ways of following. I mentioned the strip earlier on, negative weight strip, that was the first. Okay, so we'll use that in a minute. There's another thing. This is the guy Simon Hope. And it's a little carbide on the end of it. And again, it works well for boxes. We use the balls too. So turn it on the side. That's possible. Right? Put that back on. So, my negative weight scraper. What do people use for hollow? What do you use normally?
Which one are you using there now?
Yeah. Anybody else? What do you hollow with? James, what do you use for hollow? I put it on someone. What kind of thing would you use for hollowing the... Sorry? Small gouge. Yeah, so the gouge is handy. You can drill it out as well. The deep bore gouge works well. Sorry? Which? Woodworm. It happens to you. This is part of the side of it. Does it fairly well. So let's have a look at it, see what it looks like. Stop it for a minute. Leave it at the bottom. Now, sanding something like that is tricky. I have a thing here somewhere. There's just a piece of towel with a slot over it. Yeah. Right. So you want to sand something like that. Now, you can stick your finger into it, but it's dangerous. So, piece of dowel. Don't mind this tape because it's off something else, it's for a leg or something. So all I do is cut a slot up the middle of it. Right? So you get a piece of sandpaper. Right? And which way is it turning? It's turning this way. So, wrap it around. Start it up, turn it down a bit. And it's there. And you can go through the bits as well. Easy to do, any piece of a dowel with all of them up. So, what I'm going to do at this stage now is I take that off and I jam through it and I take the bottom off. So, we want to mark it out, we marked it out already, but I want to show you the principle of twisting and show you how that works out. So we put back in now the lock for this. Right. Any questions at all on that? Move it there. So, right. So, on the previous one, it didn't matter so much because it was fairly obvious when size lined up. In this one, it's really important because we want to offset. So, I've numbered them 1, 2, 3 anti-clockwise. Now, when I turn that over, the one is here, but it's clockwise. Right? So easiest way is if you hold the fingers together, that's 1. Hold the fingers together, that's 2. And then 3. Okay. Why that becomes important is we're going to offset it. So I'm going to, instead of going 1 to 1, I'm going 1 to 2. Right? Okay. Or 1 to 3, you can do it either way. So that's 1. And we're going 1 to two. If you do it one way, yeah.
The colour code down now at this stage, you don't have to think about it anymore.
Which?
You colour code them at the end
Yeah.
to do the step. You don't have to worry about it anymore because you're putting red to red.
Yeah. Or what somebody suggested earlier on, that didn't dawn on me. Offset now, if that's one, call one the offset one. Right, do the twists in other words. So one to do, because how it becomes a problem if you do this and turn it and you have to adjust it. Trying to put it back in. I went turning this the other day, and I hadn't turned it since 2019, and I thought, you see when it's spinning, it's not going to work out, because you think it looks so off. We'll see now. I did this as a demo at the carpentry store a few years ago, well, it's a good few years ago, and it was a reason I slight late when I turned it up. It started jumping around. Right, so it looks odd, doesn't it? When you start spinning, it looks even more. Right, key thing here now is to make sure it's tight first, and then make sure we're not going to touch any corners. There'll be always two corners that will be. It's like if anybody ever done, you know when you get a cube of wood and you turn it into a three-sided bowl or box. It's the same thing. It's kind of, it doesn't look right until it's done. Right. Another good technique as well, how do you know that's horizontal? If you look down between the beds, you can line up the tool rest horizontal. Right, now. So, only one problem. What's the bit I didn't do? The splits. Yeah. But it's not a problem, we can do it. When you're talking, it's hard to think of everything. So, we've got to do the spigots first. You'll be halfway through and you'll say, where's the spigot? Right. Here. Right. We'll do this quick. How's the time going now, is it?
Half an hour.
Yeah, we get just to prove or show it, there's no panic with it. See, make sure. Okay. So now we go back to. Right, so one on this side and two on this side. Now, as somebody said, it's only digging in on the corner. Because it's round, though, it should hold it. You want to turn the speed way down because you don't know what it does look odd now, doesn't it? There's kind of two wings on either side where you have to kind of remove. So I'd like to get up to 800. That's kind of just 800 now. So really carefully. But I wouldn't have to look pretty like to look at it. It's a while. Okay. So that's probably the side of the form to get that as well. It's going to go that way. That's the plan. Because you can see the side that's directly opposite that point is there. The side that's opposite that point is there. So those two have to join up together. Anyway, he said. Right. So, it's about 6 or 7 there, 6 or 7 there. So start to come together. How does you see the spigot here? You have to check it out. Back to the corner, back and forth, let's keep it. Not that I keep the little ball, you don't have to move it to the left. No, get to the left. No. Up 3 there, so 3 there. But you can see now it's got the head line. The biggest thing now you have to be focused is that when you do the next one, that the two of them meet at the line. So, right, do have a wheel on it. The two of them. Maybe here, there. Center, so one last go. I'm going to go this way. Very good. So let's stand here. Look. And it's the same thing, your horizontal and horizontal. Okay. Okay, so the first one, easy enough. Now, we're going to go to 2 on this side and 3 on this side. This way. Yeah, because you could go the other way and then you have 2 twists going opposite one another. So hopefully, so we're going this way, we're going this way. Right, so, let's see how that goes now. Don't have too much. So that's not advantage of it. The right center, you don't have to go outside it. have a look to see how it's going. Let's go to one. This flat surface will open up to get the hand. So it's about 10 there. That's a good hand there. Right. Look at that long sleeve there. And you can have about 2 minutes to go, so that's a good sign that they're meeting together. If they're burnt, you just put it back in the center, make the sleeve a little smaller, leave it to your side, and then continue. Question?
There, you reset the center, from 1 to 2. What did you know was the next level?
2 to 3.
2 to 3.
So just one of an offset. And I think the idea of numbering the offset at the start is probably good, because if you're going to go the other way, and then you have 2 twists in the opposite direction, it wouldn't work out. See, by going down you're twisting one way, by the other way you're twisting another way. Next. Oh my god, about 3 minutes. Right. It's not only conversion, it's not the number. You do get interesting straight at the end. Almost there. Just move this side. Put it standing. As I say, if we go a little bit slower, be a bit more precise. Just showing you what's involved. How's time gone? 5 minutes? Yeah, do the other side, because then at least you'll see the whole thing together there, right? Okay. So now, we're going 3, 2, 1. Technically, that's the only ones that are left are not done. Okay. And again, looking at it, it's hard to see if it's going to come out, but it will. Okay. Right. Starting is the big bird again, because that's 1.5. So you must be looking each minute there, that's like what we got. Interesting shape of time. Take it easy. You can find out if it's right again. But it's very hard to see that shape, which is what it is. So I'm using the top of the picture to have a reference time. Check now. Sure it's alright. About 3 more minutes left. Okay. At the end, you should move it slowly along, because if you move too quickly, you'll really stop. Just move slowly along. So, anybody has a question? If not, we're finished.
Okay, thanks very much, Martin. I found that very interesting and very educational in that every step of the way it was explained very well.
Thanks,
I hope everyone has noted it, because that could very well be competition piece next year. Okay. One thing I forgot to mention at the break was a friend of Michael Fay's has an Axminster hobby lathe for sale, €350. They're about 700 or 800 new. So if anyone is interested, talk to Michael. And I haven't had a rush of volunteers for the competition team or for the refreshments team. So you can nod me as soon as the meeting is over, and I take your names. Okay. Next month, as I say, it's Kieran Reynolds. Always nice to him. And
Wednesday, right?
oh yeah, Wednesday. Vinny will be here. He's doing something for Scouts on the lathe. So if anyone wants,
10th Nationals.
if
And the Garden Dipper.
if anyone wants to come along and see him or give him a hand, I'm more than welcome. Okay. Thank you and thanks for having me.
Thank you.